Hello everyone. So these are basically some shower thoughts that I just had. So this is very improvised, more than usual. So stick with me, please. Um, so today I wanted to talk about why you should study philosophy, specifically in understanding the faith, theology, but also if you are um, well, in general, why you should um, care about philosophy. So, um, so first of all, first point is um, the alternative to not studying philosophy is having a bad philosophy. Is not being non-philosophical. An example, um, an example would be in science. Um, Someone uh, like Stephen Hawking once said that philosophy is dead because now science is taking the place to respond the questions that once belonged to philosophy. The problem is that is adopting that is a philosophical that is a philosophical statement. So it refutes itself. Um, so in trying to kill philosophy, you revive it. And in that statement, Stephen Hawking was adopting a scientific, philosophical posture that of scientism, which is a bad one, a really bad one. So another example would be when people say, "Oh, you are importing man logic to the study of the Bible, while we are just being biblical." No, no, you are just you're just importing your I like this term coined by Louis Althusser, but that is spontaneous philosophy. So you're importing preconceived notions that you are not aware of and reading the text based on that. So basically on notions that are for contemporary times. So to avoid that, you need to have some sort of philosophical framework and be aware of it. So you can then contrast it with other philosophical frameworks and see essentially which one is superior. So that's why that's a big critique that one can give to intellectuals like Karl Barth, who try to get rid of philosophical presuppositions, because you always are gonna have philosophical presuppositions, and this to study philosophy, well, specifically for the Christian. Um, Ancient philosophy, especially, is because of its influence in, well, the church fathers, the early church, and so on and so forth. Um, it's debated how much, how how similar was the notion of the logos in John as opposed to the the philosophers, the Greek philosophers at his time. But I think there is a there is definitely a connection there. I don't think that's just a coincidence. Uh, for example, but then you have the church fathers, being the most obvious Saint Augustine or Saint Athanasius. Um, Origin, a little bit too much, but he's cool. Um, I appreciate him. And I wanted to briefly touch on the subject of the helenization hypothesis. So basically, that there is influ- there is an influence that changes the way that the New Testament, the Jewish thought operates in the Old and New Testament, and then how the church fathers, um, when they read when they read the scriptures in light of Greek philosophy, uh, they basically, so to speak, well, Hellenize the concepts of scripture. So we have to go back and sort of find what the original meaning was without all these philosophical presuppositions. But I don't think this is really true. um, First of all, because although you're not going to find an like an exact doctrine of God, as we have today in Plato or Aristotle, you're gonna find um, similar um, some similar ideas there. And when the church fathers take these ideas of pagan philosophy, they do not they do not um, Hellenize or change the reading of a scripture. Well, some of they do, but over the course of years, this and disputes, this is balance. For example, Clement of Alexandria and Origin less so, but still, they do have some They do certainly try to fit the Platonic system um, into the Bible, basically, at times. Nonetheless, what you what I think we find is kind of the opposite. Essentially, they read pagan philosophy in light of scripture. What do I mean by that? If we if if we take a Neoplatonist and you show him Saint Augustine, they are going to they're going to find that very unfamiliar. The church fathers more than Hellenize Christianity, they Christianize the Greeks. That was the expression that I was looking for. So one professor of philosophy used to say that if you have 18 years, if you are 18 years old, and you haven't read Plato, you you have been unlucky. But if you have 25 years old and you haven't read Plato, you had no excuse, essentially. So emphasizing the necessity to read the classics. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend you to read all Plato and all Aristotle. I would say that you can start with the first one, obviously, the Apology of Socrates, or Socrates' Apology. What are those? What are those two? Um, then I could recommend Fedon. I don't know how you pronounce this in English. Fedon, the symposium, the Republic, the four, yeah, the four books of the Republic in, but you don't necessarily need to read them, like in sequence. You can read the first book, and then you go to another dialogue or another thing completely, and then you return, and so on and so forth. There is one very interesting dialogue that is the what was it? I believe it was the Carnitas. There is also a character that is basically describes Nietzsche philosophy, which is very funny. um, which demonstrate the famous saying that all philosophy is just footnotes to Plato's dialogues. Um, um, I would correct that if I didn't got that right. So the Republic, the sophist, that is very good and but kind of difficult, and it has some concepts that are that can you blink and you miss it, so to speak. They're very subtle. And then probably the Parmenides. And the Parmenides is very interesting. Probably, for me at least, the most interesting dialogue, because he refutes the theory of forms, at least in its more, I would say, naive form. Um, and although this is very like this is not well accepted in the academy, I don't find really good arguments to negate this. So there's a character that is Aristotle, that is not the Aristotle of um, the student of Plato, but it could be a reference to Aristotle, because the objections in the Parmenides are similar objections that Aristotle makes in the metaphysics. So, speaking of Aristotle, Aristotle can be a bit. This is in Spanish. Um, can be a bit hard to read. So um, so I will still encourage you to read the metaphysics and the physics. Maybe take a look at the categories, but do it at your own pace. Like read like, I don't know, like a chapter a day if you want, which are very short. And the other thing you can have is you can get also manuals on Aristotle and really all sorts of philosophers in general. Um, and you can get a dictionary of philosophy, which basically explains various terms, and if they are very good, they even like explain, for example, this one, when it goes into the word ontology, it explains the ontological argument, and it's like 2 pages of that. It's very cool. This is in Spanish. If you can, this is very good. This is the abridged version, because the original is I have it in PDF. It's, I don't know how many volumes long, but it's very big. absurdly big. But having something like this is very helpful when you don't understand a term, because often philosophers like are very bad explaining themselves, and then other philosophers are better explaining. En fin. Uh, so yeah, those are some recommendations. Um, then you can jump to uh, whatever the heck you want, really. Um, I would recommend, for example, Saint Thomas Aquinas compendium. Well, if you're a Lutheran, you first read the Book of Concord, but a good um, a good introduction to natural theology is the compendium of Saint Thomas Aquinas, which is basically Saint Thomas Aquinas for dummies. No, no, not in an offensive way, but it's very simplified. It's very user friendly, and you can understand a lot in very simple terms. So yeah, this video is very long. I stutter a lot. I might have to cut a lot of that, but hopefully someone watched this, and see you in the next video.